Hi, it's Wednesday, so let's get started. Today's going to be a little bit unusual because I want to talk about people that are on life support systems. And I have to start at the beginning. About 28 years ago, I had been in New York City doing a radio show, early radio show. And I flew back home right after the show. And I'd been home only a short period of time when the phone rang, and I picked it up, and a man was on the other end, and he said, "Hi, my name is Mr. Jones, and my mother is on life support, and my siblings and I would like to know if you could please come to the hospital and tell us if we should disconnect her or not." I had no idea what to say. This totally floored me. And I said, no, I don't think that's a good idea. I said, I think you should probably talk to her doctor or her spiritual advisor. I said, why would I know if she should be, terminated or not? And I sort of, gave I'm sorry's and what have you, and I hung up. About an hour later, the phone rings, and I picked it up, and this man says, "Hi, I'm Dr. Jones." And he said, "My patient's son called you about an hour ago talking about his mother that is on life support." I said, "Yes." And I said, "And I don't understand. If you're her doctor, what do I have to do with it?" He said, "Well, I heard you on the radio this morning," he says, "and I'm just curious about something." He said, "Have you ever been in a room or seen a person that's on life support?" I said, "No, actually, I've been very fortunate. I haven't." And he said, "Well, do you think that if the person is brain dead, that their spirit would be out of their body?" I said, "Okay." I said, "You consider brain dead the line where you say they can be disconnected?" He said, "Correct." I said, "I don't really know." I said, I have no clue. And he said, "Are you curious? Would you like to know?" He says, "Do you think you could come to the hospital tomorrow?" I said, "Do you know I live in Ohio and you're in New York?" He said, "Not a problem." I said, "Oh, and how's that?" And he said, "No, we can bring you in first thing tomorrow morning." And I said, "And right to the hospital and right back to the airport." He said, "If that's what you want." And I said, "All right." I said, "Let's go ahead and do it." So the next morning I flew up to New York, and there was a person waiting for me when I got off the plane, which is a little side note, was the very first time I ever saw my name on a card, and which I thought was pretty cool. But at any rate, he took me to the hospital, and I went to the floor to the nurse's station, and they called Dr. Jones over. And he said, she's in the room. Her husband has been gone for 20-some years, but the 7 children are in the room. I said, "Okay, let's go see what we can see." So we walk into the room, and I have to tell you, the first thing that really surprised me was the noise. The machine, and I have to admit, over the years they've gotten quieter, but that long ago, the machine was pretty loud. I said, and also there was, I didn't care for the odor in the room either. However, the lady was out of her body. Her spirit was standing right next to the bed. And I'm thinking, okay. And I introduced myself to the lady, and she says, "Thank God somebody can hear me." She says, "Get me off of this. I hate this. And look at the money that this is costing." She says, "I do not want to be hooked up like this." She says, "Stop it. I need to know. She says, "I see my husband. I want to go to him, but I can't go to him until I know what's being done with my body." And so I'm thinking about this as she's talking, and there's 7 children standing there, a doctor and a nurse. And I thought, oh, sure. So I'm going to turn around and look at these 7 siblings and go, yeah, your mother's here standing outside of her body, and she said she wants to be disconnected. Why would they ever, or why should they ever believe me? So I said to Mom, I said, that's terrific. I can give them the information. I says, but you really need to tell me something that I can tell them so that they know I'm actually speaking to you. And I said, there's 7 of your children here. I says, how about if I give each one of them a little message that would mean something to them? And she thought about it, and she said, yep, I have some doubting Thomases there. And she says, that's a really good idea. Well, the very first thing she said is, my oldest daughter is Jamie, and what I want you to tell her is she's a wonderful cook, but I'm still going to tell her that she salts way, way too much. And I just looked at the mother and I said, that's what you want to tell her? She says, she'll know it's for me. And I said, all right. So I looked at over the siblings. I said, who's Janie? And the one girl raised her hand, and one of the guys said to the doctor, did you tell her our names? The doctor said, no, I did not. And so I said, Janie, your mom said you're a great cook, you're a wonderful cook, but you have to stop salting as much as you are. Janie passed out, freaked me out. And I said, oh my gosh, I says, if you guys are going to fall over, I'm not giving you any messages from your mother. So anyway, it was done, and they absolutely, everybody got their message, and I left, and I really don't know what happened, but I'm going to figure that they actually went ahead and disconnected her. Now, I got maybe 8 letters, and almost all of the questions are similar. So let me do this. There was a number of people that wanted to know when my mom or my dad or whoever it is on life support, when we talk, can they hear us? If they are actually no function on the brain, then yes, they would be out of their body, and it would be like a regular earthbound spirit. As long as you talk out loud, they can absolutely hear you. Can they also see, like this lady, she saw her husband. They wanted to know, can they see people in the light that they want to see? Absolutely. Can they talk to them? No. And that's the incentive to get this person to cross into the light. But they can see moms, dads, brothers, sisters, everything. Have you ever been to a funeral of a person that was taken off of life support and they were angry for doing it? One time. And this old codger, he had been looking for years and years about being, and I'm sure there's a scientific name for it, but I don't know. He wanted to be frozen, so that when somebody could find a cure for his disease, he could come back. And the man was probably in his mid-80s, and he was mad that his sons did not try to find a way to preserve him until they could find a cure for his disease. Another one, how do we know if there's stuff that they want done before we disconnect them? Some of the people that I have gone to the hospital to see on life support, the one I can remember especially, it was a Sunday, and she said, absolutely, I do not want to be connected, disconnect me. She says, but they can't do it until they get to the bank and get everything in their names and get the safety deposit box empty. Pretty smart lady. So they want that done first. And none of them, well, I shouldn't say none of them, most of these people absolutely do stick around for their funeral. They do not, very seldom do they cross over at that point. And a lot of them, if there is no will and the kids or the family don't know what anybody wants done, then that's when they will say, you know, I want to go to this funeral home and have that dress on me, or, you know, things like this. I've also had one woman tell everybody that they had to stand guard at the door, and she had a list of about 5 names that she didn't want to come in looking at her in the casket. You know what? People have identically the same personalities they have when they're alive as when they're dead. So if this is something that they would have said or done when they were alive, why wouldn't they do it when they're dead? Next week, we will be talking, just doing regular letters next week, not just focusing on one topic. And keep a look on my website. We are in October, and I've got a lot of events coming up. So check that. If you're in this area of Ohio, come on and see me. And have a great week. Thanks.